Yo, the haves and the have-nots is back, and I'm here for the ride. Roll it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to KRSTV. This is your boy Kenny. Now remember, subscribe to my channel. Click that bell so you get notifications every time I drop a video. Also, follow all the information I have in the description box and in the comment section. Also, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. And before I get started, let me shout out my YouTube partner, BK WorldTube. It's pretty much the black Netflix. You get everything from Love and Hip Hop to RuPaul's Drag Race and to this show here, The Haves and the Have-Nots. So go over there and check them out today. Now, this is The Haves and the Have-Nots Season 8, Episodes 11 and 12, because it was a 2-hour premiere. And the Episode 11 is called Power of Attorney, and Episode 12 is called One Way or Another. I decided to group these two together, because it was a 2-hour premiere, so I'm going to pretty much combine both episodes into one video. But man, a whole lot is being set up, and I'm waiting to see how Tyler is going to unfold all of this. So let me begin. The first scene I'm going to talk about is the scene at the jail with Catherine and Wyatt. Wyatt has slit his wrist, Catherine is panicking and everything, and Catherine in this situation is completely powerless. She's in jail. Her money and her status has no pull in this situation, so here she is crying for Wyatt and crying that I need to know what's going on, and everybody's paying her dust. But Catherine later on in the episode gets another cellmate, and guess who that cellmate is? Mama Rose. Pretty much a cop arrested Mama Rose for drinking under the influence, driving under the influence, I'm sorry, and now she's in jail. But Mama Rose is getting far better treatment than Catherine Cryer, because Catherine's crying and hysterical, the other prisoners telling her to shut up and everything, and then you got one prisoner who's coming to Catherine's defense, like her son just slit his wrist, like because you could probably tell that the other prisoner who was defending Catherine was a mother herself, so she understood. And Mama Rose pretty much shut that down, and Mama Rose is literally set up like the Dark Queen, sitting in her lounge chair looking like Roseanne Barr, just posted up like. And she's tossed to Catherine, and Catherine is literally paying her dust. I don't want to talk to you. I'm Catherine Cryer, and she has no idea who she is. But Mama Rose lets her know real quick. She calls Officer Elliott. Then we see this officer come in. Catherine's trying to ask about Wyatt. He's telling her to shut up. And we see that this officer is literally catering to Mama Rose. And he's like, why are you sitting in this cell? You could come out the cell if you want. She's like, oh, no. Because Mama Rose was set up there in her little black get-up, sitting in the lounge chair, just all comfortable in the cell, where everybody else got on those orange jumpsuits. And Mama Rose was like, oh no, the officer said that I was arrested and he didn't care who the hell I was, so I'm going to sit here and entertain him, but have my boys pay that officer a visit and, reach out to them and let them know what's going on. Little does she know, they already know she's in jail and they on their way. And I'm talking about Benny and Sandy. I'm going to get to them. And she's pretty much soaking this up, and then all of a sudden Catherine was like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know who you were. She's like, yeah, it's like, and she's like, I know you've dealt with my husband. And she's like, yeah, and I fucked him too. I'm like, yeah, knowing Jim and his wayward dick, I wouldn't be surprised if him and Mama Rose got it into. I mean, shoot, Jim's a hoe just like any other hoe. They put out to get what they want. So they go back and forth, and Mama Rose shows her who got the power. Because, Catherine is still like, I am Catherine Cryer. I don't need you and I don't need anybody. She was like, and then all of a sudden Mama Rose was like, watch this. I need a little quiet up in here. Everybody shut up. And then she says, and it's too bright in here. Then the lights dim. And Mama Rose is just there laughing, getting her life. I was like, boo-boo. Catherine, yeah, you used to having power and money and prestige, but you ain't got the streets. Mama Rose got them streets and wasn't afraid to let you know that. So all that was going on. Then I'm gonna talk about the scene with Candace and Benny and everything. Benny, from we saw from the last episode, has found out information about Derek and the lion tattoo. Candace is denying it, but you know Benny, once he's on something, he ain't gonna let it go. Benny is full with rage, and he's like, I'm gonna get to the bottom of this, and I'm gonna go talk to mommy. And Candace like, she's not gonna tell you. He's like, oh, so I am telling the truth, huh? And Candace still denying it. She's not gonna say anything. He's like, nah, something ain't right, because she was in love with old dude, and now she don't want to talk to him. Oh, I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. They call out looking for Hannah. Hannah ain't there. And we come to find out what Hannah is, and let me tell you, Hannah got on my last nerve this episode. You hear me? I wanted to jump in the screen and slap the crap out of Hannah, because Hannah was doing too much. But later we find out Hannah is down at the Ironbone. You know, the Malone bar. You know, the racist Malone bar. She go up in there running to Mitch, telling Mitch, I want to see what $8 million looks like. I want to see what $8 million of protection looks like. Since you said that your family got them, I want to talk to your family to see how they're going to protect my kids. And I'm like, Hannah, you idiot. See, your Bible-toting Christian behind, see, a lot of your problems come from the fact that you be injecting yourself in situations and when you need to just fall back. Because let's be real, Hannah's life would be okay if it wasn't for her kids and her involving herself in her kids' mess. Your kids are grown, honey. You know, here it is, you always team Benny, but Benny is just as ratchet as Candace. The only difference is that Benny's dumb as hell. But here she is sitting up at the Malone bar. Mitch calls Candace and Benny at home because Benny is dead set that he gonna get to the bottom of this whole Derek situation. Tell Candace, you ain't going nowhere. We ain't going nowhere until we get to the bottom of this. Now remember from the last episode, they got into this big heated argument with Hannah, and Hannah put both of them out. So they supposed to be packing their stuff and leaving until Benny found out about Derek on the internet. So Mitch calls Benny and lets him know, look, your mother's down in this bar. Y'all need to get down here and get him, because you know how my family go. So both Candace and Benny head down to the Ironbone. Hannah is sitting at the bar, posted up, drinking her beer, and telling them she ain't going nowhere. And they trying to let her know, like, girl, there are killers up in here. And she's like, exactly, which is why I want to see how they gonna protect you guys, since y'all want to keep that money. I'm like, Hannah, you dumb ass. So it gets to the point where, like, they, you know, the three of them, you know, Mitch, Benny, and Candace, Mitch is telling them, like, look, y'all need to get her out of here, because, you know, Mitch and Sandy luckily weren't there, because they got a call from Mama Rose. Well, not from Mama Rose. They got a call to say that Mama Rose was arrested for a DUI. So Sandy and Benny leave out of there, but, you know, and they left right before Hannah showed up. But while they was there, they was in a discussion with Mitch, because Mitch has given them the money for Wyatt and given the money for Benny, for Benny. But we can tell Vinny ain't set on that. Vinny wants blood. Vinny wants redemption. You know, a person like Vinny is a hothead. The only thing that's gonna quench him is shedding some blood. So all of a sudden they you know, Sandy brings up about Mitch having his new truck and everything. So they question Mitch, like, how'd you get the new truck? Where all of a sudden he get the money all of a sudden? So we see that Vinny wants Wyatt's head and he wants Benny's head. Vinny want to kill somebody, and no amount of money's gonna stop that. And I think that's the thing that Mitch don't get, because Mitch is trying to keep the politics going and trying to keep the family from going to war, but Vinny wants war. And then we get like a little situation with Sandy, because, you know, Sandy's all racist, but we can tell he got a crush on Candace. Then we see this little beautiful black girl that comes up in there, who's actually one of Sandy's pieces. Vinny tells him to go handle that, because she showed up at the Ironbone, but she comes in there to serve him you know, papers, you know, that she filed, and pretty much she filed a restraining order against Sandy. So we starting to see Sandy crazy as all hell, and he pretty much been stalking her and all that. And she says, I deliver those papers to you to show that I'm not afraid of you. And he was like, girl, the only reason why you deliver these papers to me is because you know no cop wouldn't have the nerve to come down here to do and serve these papers. But she lets him know you've been served, and he was like, you better be at my house by the end of the night. And she's like, I'm telling you. He's like, no, I'm telling your ass, you better be at my house at the end of the night. And I'm like, oh really, Sandy? So you don't like black people, but here you are dating black women, and then you pulling a Tim Norman on top of it? Catch that. So I'm like, as much as you don't like black people, you seem to me be taking a page from a lot of blacks. You know, and even Mitch was like, for you to hate black people so much, you sure like to screw them. I'm like, it's no different than the slave masters during slavery. They hated blacks, but they sure as hell didn't mind going to bed with them. You know, men and the women. Catch that too. So that went on. So once they get the word about Mama Rose, you know, Mitch and Sandy leave, and he asks, Vinny and Sandy leave, and they tell Mitch to look after the bar. And that's when Hannah came in. Hannah's dead set that she ain't leaving. You know, Candace tells Benny, get her out of here. And she's blowing Benny dust. And Candace was like, look, I'm gonna have to bring in some muscle, because we need to get her out of here, because if she's here by the time your family get back, it's gonna be some shit. So Candace calls her goons and say like, yeah, I need y'all to come to the Iron Bone. So they on their way, but then she tells Benny, you got 5 minutes to get her up out of here, and you know, if you can't, you gonna need to leave, because I don't want you to see what's about to happen. And of course Benny with his dumb ass, what you gonna do? Ain't nobody gonna do nothing to my mama. I'm like, Benny, she's trying to spare you, because she got goons coming, and you being the hothead that you are, your ass gonna be 6 feet under if you don't get the fuck up out of here, because don't think they won't kill you to get to your mom's. And Candace knows this. So here it is, he's still trying to get Hannah to get out of there, but Hannah won't move. So they tell Benny to leave, and Mitch is even telling Benny, you need to get the hell up out of here. Benny's still, well, I gotta leave, well, I gotta go. Nigga, leave. Get the hell out of here. Eventually, Benny's dumbass leaves, and Candace approaches Hannah and was like, Hannah, you got 43 seconds to get your ass up and to walk on out of here. She's still, in her arrogance, is like, I'm not going nowhere. And she's like, well, then I will move you myself. She's like, oh, what you gonna do? Come get her. Then we see all these goons come up in there, and they yank Hannah up off the bar and literally carry her out of there. And I was clapping the entire time. So I'm like, Hannah was getting on my nerves, and I'm so happy that Candace took control and got her up out of there. She kicking and screaming like, I can't believe this shit. Really, Candace? I'm like, that's what you get for being hard-headed with your dumb ass. So after that, Mitch and Candace was like, look, Candace was like, I need a drink. He's like, yeah, me too. Because that was about to be some shit on Mitch's head too. And they both got whiskey doubles. So that was the end of that. Then we got this whole cat and mouse thing going on with Landon and Charles. And it's to the point where, Landon and Oliver, I'm sorry. And they just going back and forth, still doing that, cat, pretty much that girl teasing that they do with each other. And Oliver lets Landon know that Candace is about to catch a flight, and she's supposed to be heading to New York or maybe Atlanta. And he's like, oh yes, it may have happened. I may have forgot after I got me some ice cream. And I'm like, these two girls are getting on my nerves. So Landon's still trying to flex his muscle or whatever. So then we see that Landon calls a contact of his and puts Candace on a no-flight list. And she was like, and they was like, oh, you mean like? She's like, oh no, that's my ex-boyfriend. Ew. So you mean to tell me you had your ex-boyfriend on a no-flight list too? I'm like, Landon is a fucking mess. And then he was like, I'll show that bitch who's really boss. Talking about Oliver. But then we find out Oliver's on some shit too, because we come to find out that Akil, the guy that Jim hired to kidnap Benny, is also working for Oliver and his family. So he hits up Akil and says that, what you got on her? And Akil says that, well, she went in to get a pregnancy test, and right now that's pretty much all I know. But Oliver is intent. I need more. Give me more information on her. Now, granted, Oliver is in Detroit. Akil is still in Savannah. So he tells him, you need to catch a flight to come up to Detroit because we need to meet. And we see that he tweaking, and I'm like, it immediately kind of gave it away to me. Oh yeah, something up with old boy. Like he got an itch he's trying to scratch, and we later find that out. And he pretty much tells him, if you don't get up in, if you ain't in Detroit by the night, you know what's gonna happen to you. And after he gets off the phone with him, you know, pretty much Landon and him go back and forth again, and Oliver's like, you know, I'm getting all I can to find out about you. And then Landon was like, yeah, and you do what you gotta do, but trust, I wonder if you got more on me than I have on you. And then Oliver's like, what you mean by that? And he was like, have a good evening, and walked up out of there. And all of a sudden Oliver's like, he don't know nothing. I was like, kind of scared, huh? Why is that? So then we see that finally Akil shows up in Detroit. Him and Oliver meet up with each other. We see that Oliver is sweating profusely, leaving puddles in the car. We come to find out that Oliver's a cokehead, and he was looking for his cocaine, and Akil delivered it to him. And he's like, so you brought me up here just to give you cocaine? He's like, no, I want to know what's going on with Candace, what you have. And he was like, what I gave you over the phone is exactly what's going on. I don't have no more to give you. He's like, well, the thing is, I need more information, and if you don't deliver it, I'm gonna have you deported. If you want to stay in this country, you'll do what I ask. And then he was like, and then we come to find out that he took Oliver's father's plane jet to get there. And he was like, you think your father gonna have issues with me riding shit? He's like, my father won't worry about anything as long as I'm happy. So it goes to show that, yeah, Landon was right about his ass. He's a spoiled rich kid who think the world is entitled to him. And then he says that, yeah, I'm gonna do everything I can because my father is gonna be the next president. And a kid was like, but your father doesn't even have any career in politics. He's like, when does that shit matter? Anybody can be president. Catch that, because, you know, our current president didn't have a political history either. So he's like, shoot, in this country, anybody can be president, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, but that whole scene right there had me like, wow. So Oliver is on some shit, and I've been saying this for a while, that I think Oliver got his own agenda, and in this episode, it was revealed. Then we get this whole situation with Jeffrey and Madison. Now, Jeffrey and Madison that just came home from their date, they drunk, they all loud and stuff coming into the house. David is laying on the couch, and Jeffrey's like, you need to calm down before you wake my dad. And David's up, but you can tell that David's still uncomfortable with this whole Jeffrey and Madison situation, because he walked in on them having sex, you know, walked in on Madison digging out Jeffrey like a tunnel, and he's still kind of shaky about that, which is understandable, because if you walk in on anybody having sex, you're gonna be a little uncomfortable. And here it is, Jeffrey and Madison ain't making it no better, because Jeffrey's like, well, like, what's going on? And then David's like, look, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go handle something with Jim. But Jeffrey's like, but you're in your pajamas. I mean, if it's a problem, we can go to Max. He's like, no, it's your house just as much as mine. You know, y'all good. And then Madison is laughing, and I'm like, Madison, you gonna get your ass whooped fucking with David now. You're getting a little too confident and too aggressive when you need to take it down a peg or two. Because I get what Madison's trying to do, like trying to get Jeffrey to be comfortable being who he is and living in his full gayness. But the way you going about it, bro, you're gonna get your ass smacked because you're doing too much. So he makes Jeffrey strip down in the foyer, and then they go up in there, they have their sex or whatever. And we see that Jeffrey, they had some good sex too, because, like, trust me, Jeffrey was up in there, you know, doing splits and somersaults up in the bed and everything. And Jeffrey was getting his life, and, you know, Madison trying to leave or whatever, and Jeffrey was like, don't you want to get another round? And he was like, this will be like our third time, Jeffrey. I'm tired. And he's like, well, he ain't tired. Jeffrey already hard all over again, ready to go for another round. And next thing you know, we see he tackle Madison, you know, and they get it in again before he leaves. You know, David was so uncomfortable that he took the car from the security guy, because he now has security looking over his house. He takes the security guy's car to just drive because he just want to get it out of his mind. He comes back and there's this woman standing outside. Come to find out, this woman is named Alyssa. She was Erica's best friend. And when David approached her, he didn't want to hear nothing she had to say in regards to Erica, because he now knows that Erica was a plant, mainly by Candace, but then Veronica signed up on it. But then she says that no, Erica really was in love with you. Yeah, she may have been a plant, but she actually liked you. And I got a video in case something happened to her. Play it. So he plays the video, and in the video, Erica says that, yeah, I know I was a plant and I was there to use you, but I really fell in love with you. You were the only person that treated me like a human. You made me feel beautiful and special and all of that. And then all of a sudden, after she plays the video, you know, Alyssa says, well, there's more. And he was like, I don't care to know about it. And then the next thing you know, we see Alyssa is trying to throw herself onto David. And David was like, but I thought you was her best friend. And she says, well, that's the thing about best friends. Once your friend tells you how good a man is, the other friend want him. So here she is getting down on her knees, trying to get at him and everything. And then the next thing you know, we see her doing a striptease in the damn fountain. You know, just serving body yada yada. And I was like, oh baby, Alyssa look good, honey. Like, body, ass, everything. She was serving it up in that water fountain like she was on a damn photo shoot. She dancing in the water, and the guards telling her, ma'am, get out the fountain. But you can tell he's entertained by it too. And so is David, because David is looking right out that window and he is not moving. Then Madison comes downstairs and lets him know, oh, he's about to leave. But he's still kind of picking with David because he knows David's uncomfortable. I'm like, Madison, get your ass up out of there before you end up getting fucked up. And then all of a sudden he goes outside and Madison's like, you know there's a naked woman dancing in your fountain? He's like, I know, security will handle it. But we see that he's intrigued. And then Madison even comes out and is like, oh yeah, bitch, work, yes. That tickled me, because she was literally serving it up in the fountain. And we see David still looking, and I'm like, David liking that shit. He don't trust the bitch, but hey, body. She was serving it, and he was literally checking it out, and so was that security guard. That part gave me life. Then now I'm gonna talk about Catherine's accountants. We meet Catherine's accountants, John and Don. Don was the guy that played the homeless guy in The Family That Prays. They pretty much are setting up their whole little plan because they're trying to set up their own company, but they need some liquid funds to get the company rolling, and they trying to figure out ways they can maneuver funds out of Catherine to help start up their company. And they pretty much go back and forth with each other, and of course they're connected with Catherine's attorney Marty. So Don and John go back and forth saying that, yeah, we can pull this off because I don't know if you know this, Don, but Catherine got arrested for the murder of Jennifer Salison, and so pretty much her account is open game because she ain't gonna leave it to Jim because she hates Jim's ass, and Wyatt's a junkie, so she ain't got nobody to look after her assets. So this is open season. We can swindle about $5 million. She ain't gonna know nothing about it, you know, and we can kind of use that to fund our company, and we can just, and then on top of it, we'll be in control of her whole entire you know, fortune, and we can play this any way we want to. And so I'm like, man, that's the reason why she did what she did, because she know the people that work with her are on some grimy shit, even these accountants. And clearly we see these accountants are grimy as hell. But they get a call from Marty to meet up in his office. They at a restaurant, they leave, go meet up with Marty. Marty drops the news that she gave Hannah, the maid, power of attorney. And these two are so condescending and like, why the hell would she leave it to the maid? See, it shows that Catherine's crazy. why would she leave it to the maid? And it's like, we want to oppose this. And Marty was like, look, I'm her attorney, so I have to respect her wishes. But if you want, I can set up a meeting where y'all can meet up with her and y'all can discuss things with her, meaning Hannah. And he's like, okay, fine, set that up. So, and even Marty was like, yeah, I'll set up the meeting with the maid. I'm like, man, y'all just so condescending and so prejudiced, it's ridiculous. So then we see John's head start to spin because Don is pissed. He's like, what the hell? Now she's gonna get away with it. But then John was like, nah, we can still do what we gotta do. But now that she's the power of attorney, we're accountants. She don't know nothing about financial management. She don't know nothing about accounting. We can still pull this off. And if things come up, we can just blame her. So here it is. They trying to trap Hannah, you know, while they swindle money out of Catherine and say, well, if things come up and they do an audit, we can just blame Hannah since she want to be power of attorney. I'm like, oh, you evil little bitches. So they done already got their little plan going on. And so we see that, yeah, you know, that's the reason why Catherine made Hannah a power of attorney, because she can't trust nobody, not even her accountants, because we see that they on some fuck shit. So then we get a scene with Justin, and we meet a new character, Justin's older brother, Tanner. Tanner lives in New York. The mother done called Tanner and said that you need to come down here because your brother done lost his damn mind, and literally Justin has. But we see where his homophobia and racism stems from. It stems from his older brother Tanner, because Tanner came up in there like, what the hell is going on here? Mom's worried about you, and we heard that you done fell off the deep end. What the hell is going on? And then like Justin's like, look, I'm fine, okay? I'm just going through a rough time, but did you just go back to New York and leave me alone? And all of a sudden he notices the shrine of Jeffrey Harrington on the walls. Like, what the hell is this? And he's like, it's nobody. And he was like, see, Mom told me you was doing some perverse shit down here. And I was like, oh, perverse? So there you go, the homophobia. And then he was like, yeah, we remember that, you know, what happened the last time you was messing around with boys. And he was like, yeah, and you handled that, didn't you? And Tanner was like, yeah, now do the shit again. So we come to find out that the first time that Justin had a little you know, rendezvous with the black boy at school, his brother, along with his other brothers, jumped him and stomped him out. So again, that's where the racism and homophobia stems from, and why Justin is so insane. But I mean, it's showing that Justin's crazy came from somewhere. So here it is. Tanner done ripped one of the pictures off, and he's like, I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. And if I find out you up here doing some bullshit, me and our brothers gonna come back and we gonna beat your ass far worse than we did the first time. And I'm like, wow. So we see right here, this is where Justin turned crazy after he was stomped down and everything, and how his whole situation with Jeffrey even got started, because he's a suppressed homosexual who obviously has an attraction to black men. But when you come from the kind of family that's not only racist but also homophobic, he was suppressing all of that, and then when he got with Jeffrey, it just exploded, which to why he went down the path he's on. But I don't feel sorry for fucking Justin in the slightest, because Justin did too much shit. So then I'm now going to talk about Veronica. Veronica's up in her house, walking that house all alone, and you can tell that she's afraid. She was petrified. Catch it. Afraid and petrified up in our own house. Then all of a sudden we see that her PSD is still on, because she looking at the pool, and you know, while she pouring herself some more scotch, it was like, yeah, that's where he did it. Yeah, that's where he did it. I'm like, because we know Veronica got PTSD, because we saw from the last episode, the episode back when David knocked her out, and all of a sudden she went back to her childhood. So Veronica Harrington got PSD like a motherfucker. And then the next thing you know, we look back at the pool, old dirty Rodale is up in there swimming, you know, just swimming, and he's pretty much, saying that, yeah, won't you come up in here and join me? She's like, get the hell out of my property. He's like, no, but you can come up here and swim. It's nice and warm. So he's trying to get up in Veronica and trying to, give her the LD, or so he thought. And Veronica pretty much threatens that she's gonna put a blow dryer in the pool if he don't get up out of there. And he gets out the pool, and let's just say Andre Fuller, body yaddy yaddy. He gets out, all sexy and everything, and then trying to sell her like, bitch, get on your knees. And she's like, who the hell you think you're talking to? He's like, shoot, the woman that knew how to do it better than any other female. And she was like, first of all, I ain't like them bitches you deal with on the street, and I know mother knows how to deliver it. But then she tells him, so won't you get on your knees? But then also he lets her know that he saw Jeffrey and Madison at the restaurant eating together or whatever. So remember, she put him out on, she sticked him out on Jeffrey, so Jeffrey's being watched and he don't even know it. And it was even funny because Jeffrey was joking with Madison that, well, after we have sex here, why don't we go over our mother's house and screw in her pool? I'm like, yeah, and if you would have did that, yeah, your ass would have got bodied. So it was a good thing Madison was like, no, bitch, I ain't trying to die, so leave that shit alone. But we see that Rodale is literally throwing it on Veronica. He's trying to get in between her legs and everything, and she was like, once you get on your knees, and you got 30 seconds for me to decide whether you can continue or not. And he was like, all I need is 5. All he did was a little tickle of the artery, like, la 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 la. And she's like, come on upstairs. They get upstairs, he's throwing it on her and everything, while Veronica is rolling her eyes in the dark like, really? Get up off me, get up off me. And he said, what is that wet thing on my leg? Oh, really? You came up in here to serve me that little thing? It's wet and they ain't even do nothing to me. She's like, you know what, get the hell out of my house. You know what, you make black men look bad. Seriously though? That's all you got to offer me? And he was like, well, it takes 2, She's like, yeah, but you ain't giving me nothing to work with. If I wanted to be stuck with a pen, I would have just got a pen and did it myself. And then she starts going in, talking about, and then he pretty much is getting tired of her talking shit. He lets her know, like, man, somebody gonna kill your ignorant ass. And she was like, well, it ain't gonna be you with that PP shooter you got. And he says, shoot, I might just take you out myself. And she's like, well, with that little thing you working with, I will live. Ew, ew, ew. I was cracking up. She's like, get your ass out of here, little bitch. Bye, little slimy thing. I was like, Veronica is so fucking mean. I was so here for it, though. It was so hilarious. So we saw that go on, and that really tickled me. Because I'm like, Veronica is still on her shit. Then later on, she gets a call from Benny, because Benny, after that whole situation at the Iron Bone, he's still trying to get to the bottom of this whole situation with Derek. He calls Veronica to ask for Derek's address. She gives him her address, saying that, hey, won't you come over here, bring a condom, or better yet, bring 2. Bring that little size condom that you usually buy. I'm horny and I need to be felt. Yeah, come through. And David, and like, daggone Benny's like, man, this bitch. And then she's like, then all of a sudden you see, and then all of a sudden, she's pretty much like, man, I can tell these little boys can't get enough of mama, but they need to do it right, like David. I'm like, So now we see why she kept David around. David was the best she ever had, but we know that she a thought and probably a nympho, so that's why she been screwing around on David the whole marriage. She can't get enough. Thought ass. So we saw that go on. Then we get this whole scene with Jim at the hospital. Some young guy comes up in there and he immediately thinks he's a disorderly, telling him to take out the trash. And old boy was like, what do you mean take out the trash? You think I work here? I'm wearing a suit, for God's sakes. And then the next thing you know, we come to find out his name is Jimmy. He's one of Celine's sons. I think he's the younger son. Last time we saw him as a little boy, but in Tyler Perry world, he's aged and now he's a young adult. And they go back and forth, and Jim was like, yeah, I'm probably your dad, so what? Who gives a shit? And he's like, yeah, I remember you making my mother cry. and all of this shit. And she's like, and he was like, so what? Don't all your mothers cry? Talking about Latin women. I was like, ooh, Jim is doing the most. Then next you know, we see Jimmy pulls out a gun, and all of a sudden Jim's tone automatically changes. And he's like, look, son, he's like, don't call me son, my name is Jimmy. Yeah, you know, here it is, you done made my life hard, and you didn't support us, and all of that. But little do you know, boo-boo, your mother ain't innocent. So clearly, Celine been poisoning this boy with a bunch of bullshit, because she willfully was having that affair with Jim, knowing he was married, and Jim was giving her a whole bunch of money. But why is it now that Celine is working at the hospital, mopping and buffing floors? What did she do with what did Celine do with that money? Because remember when we saw Celine's apartment, Celine may have been living in the hood, but inside she was living hood rich. So yeah, Jim wasn't in your life, but Jim was financially supporting your asses. The question is, what did Celine do with all that money, huh? Because Celine had enough to take care of y'all. So I'm saying it's wrong on both ends. Both of your parents ain't shit, but obviously he's pretty much was raised to his mother's hip, so he's gonna side with his mom. And they go back and forth, and he's taunting the hell out of Jim. He says, did you ever love my mother? He's like, yeah, I loved your mother, she was a beautiful woman. He's like, oh, was? I'm like, yeah, Celine was a hot piece of ass. And that's what he went after. And he was like, but you're married. And he was like, yeah, reluctantly. Like, and he pretty much tells him, like, while he got the gun on him, that, look, I don't know why I do what I do. You know, I don't care about anybody or anyone. You know, I don't even give a damn about you. I don't care about anybody. I don't know why I'm the way I am. And he's like, yeah, you're an evil sociopath. That's what you are. And then all of a sudden, he thought old boy was about to shoot him. He's like, you know what? Fuck you. You ain't shit. I just wanted to, you gave me all I needed to know. And then threw it at him and turned to find out the damn gun was a toy. I'm like, Jimmy, if you don't get your simple dumb ass out of here with that. But I was here for it a little bit because it had Jim shook. And then after he's like, wow, that little motherfucker's aggressive. He probably might be my son. So tell me, why is it that after he leaves Jim, this crazy son of a bitch goes to see Wyatt? And I'm like, you just literally went to the like, what makes you think going to Wyatt was going to make it any better? Because Wyatt is literally Jim's son that grew up at his hip. He's just like Jim. The problem is that Wyatt's a junkie, so he's even more all over the place than Jim is. At least Jim can manage his crazy. Wyatt can't. So he goes in there and starts talking to Wyatt, and then Wyatt's like, yeah, I remember you, half-breed. I was like, and he kept calling him half-breed. Catch that. And he just calling him half-breed, and he's like, so how is it that you were given everything and yet you screwed it up? And he was saying that, hey, I was a child born into wealth, something you would never know anything about, huh? But I'm like, and then he's like, yeah, I'm so glad that he didn't raise me, because I would have ended up like you, so I'm better off. And I'm like, Jimmy, you got all this misguided anger, bruh. Yeah, you got some anger with them, but you also got anger with your mother, because your mother put you in this situation. Because Celine was literally married while she was having this, affair with Jim, which 2 children were born. And we come to find out that whole scene between him and Celine, where he dug Celine out and then told her off that, I came over here and screwed you like the $2 whore that you are, and that bastard in there, I'll just give you enough, but it won't be much. We come to find out that Jimmy was in there and he heard everything. So I was like, just goes to show you right there, when y'all do fuck shit, children be listening now. So he remembered all of that, like how you made my mother cry and all that. And I'm like, man, that's messed up. But hey, it is what it is. So we saw that go on. Then I'm gonna talk about this whole situation with Laura and Samuel. Now, these are new characters. Laurel is the girl that Veronica hired as her new maid, and she's geeked out because Veronica gave her all of her gave her new outfits and stuff to wear. But I'm like, little does she know that Veronica's setting her up to be her fall person, because she knows somebody's after her, and if somebody were to strike, they would strike Laura instead of her. But Laura, since she is so geeked up about having nice things and living the fancy life, she don't even know she's being set up. She's all happy and everything, and Samuel's like, do you think everything's okay with that? She's like, oh yeah, it's cool. Matter of fact, why don't you come by the house, so we can move this thing on. And then we come to find out they working with somebody, and they working with Derek. Derek came in on some straight up hood shit, to the point it even shocked me. I was like, oh, that whole Derek came in there with a whole different personality. He's like, yeah, we about to get this bitch. We gonna take her for everything she got. And then Laura's like, yeah, we up in there and everything. We got this. And he was like, yeah, we about to take her for everything she's got, because that bitch has threatened me for the last time, and I'm about to show her what's up. So we come to find out that Derek is the one that set up Laura and Samuel to infiltrate into Veronica's web so he can take her for everything she got. And we see that Samuel and Derek are going back and forth and everything. And then Samuel's like, yeah, she even gave Laura some of her clothes. And immediately that rung a bell with Derek's like, she really did, huh? She gave her clothes. He's like, watch her ass, because she's always got a motive. So something about that ain't sitting right with me. And you would be right, Derek. You always know Veronica always got, a plan B, and she always got an agenda. So they discussed that, but I was like, oh, Derek is ready to take down Veronica, because Veronica has been bullying him for years, and he's over it. So then we get the last scene of this this whole situation. Vinny and Sandy go to the police office to get out Mama Rose. They meet up with Officer Norris, and Officer Norris was the one that arrested her. And we come to find out Officer Norris ain't no rookie, but he's trying to take crime off the streets, and he put her in there because she was drinking under the influence, and he didn't give a damn whether she was Mama Rose or not. So we see that he got this real tough exterior saying that, look, she's in there, and if you want, you can come in the morning and we can discuss it then, but she will be spending the night in jail. And you can tell Vinny wants blood, and Vinny just don't care at this point. He was like, you better get my mother the hell up out of there. And he's telling like, look, you better get up out of here. All of you better get out of here before I arrest you all. And he's like, he's like, you said what? You said what? And I was like, ooh, like, Officer Norris, you don't know what the hell you're dealing with here. You're dealing with the mob, and the mob don't play by rules. And they going back and forth and everything, and he was like, get the hell out of here right now, or I'm gonna have all of you arrested. Leave now. And he was like, oh, okay. And one of the guards covered the video camera, and he was like, so what's your name again? He's like, again, my name is Officer Norris. Pow! And I was like, whoa! See, all of that anger and wanting blood done built up to the point he killed the damn officer on duty in the police station. Even Sandy was like, I'm like, Vinny on one, so we gonna see how this gonna play out, because you done killed the damn officer in the line of duty in the police station. It's to a point Vinny don't give a fuck no more. It's like, it's a wrap. But that's what I have, y'all. If I missed anything, get down in those comments, let me know your thoughts. These 2 episodes were crazy, and I'm here to see what Tyler is gonna show us next. So until next time, everybody, take care.